Yeah, you hear that, don't you, buddy? There's Jinx. Yeah, clean him up. We're going to have him on camera in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. We're good to go. All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Oaks Day. My name is Barry Northern. I work for the Kentucky Derby Museum. And we're going to spend this morning walking around on the backside, just talking about what goes on back here. I'm very excited to be back here. With a lot of the restrictions going on these days, I haven't been able to come back here like I normally do. So this is my first time back here with the horses, probably since about November. So I'm very excited. This is Oaks Day, folks. A little known fact is tomorrow we're going to crown our 146th winner of the Kentucky Derby. Today we're going to crown our 147th winner of the Kentucky Oaks. Rules were different back in the day, and in 1959 so many horses were entered in the Kentucky Oaks that they actually ran 2 Kentucky Oaks that year. It was what they called split divisions. So there were actually 2 winners of the Kentucky Oaks in 1959. So this will be our 147th winner being crowned later on this afternoon. Now, folks, we're here at what's called the Pony Barn here at Churchill Downs. When we talk ponies in thoroughbred racing, it certainly doesn't mean they're small by any means. Pony is what they do. Ponies are kind of like escorts or babysitters. They help calm thoroughbreds down. Thoroughbreds are herd animals, so they do like having some company with them. So when a horse comes onto the track for a race, there is always a pony waiting for him to escort him to the starting gate. One of our most famous ponies back here is standing right here in front of us in stall number 8. His name is Harley the Magnificent. So folks, you can certainly Google Harley. He has his own website. If you just Google Harley and horse, he'll pop up. This big fella, he sees me, he hears the wrapper, he knows I'm about to bring him a peppermint. Harley's probably about 2,400 pounds these days. He's about twice the size of most of these thoroughbreds, but he is very much a gentle giant, and he loves his peppermints. Now, Harley, I just was told, is going to be escorting Gamine, who is the favorite for today's Kentucky Oaks. He'll be escorting Gamine to the starting gate today, and I believe he is also going to escort Tiz the Law for the Derby tomorrow. So Harley has a very good chance of escorting both of the winners to the starting gate this year. One peppermint is typically not enough for Harley. You can see his neck's getting very long. He knows I got one more coming his way. There you go, big fella. That's all I have. That's all I have right there. So Harley the Magnificent, folks, you'll certainly see him on the track tomorrow. He's very easy, and this afternoon as well. Very easy to spot with that big spotted hind end on him. So get a chance, Google him. There's a picture of Pat Day, the all-time winningest jockey at Churchill Downs, sitting up on top of Harley's back. And Pat's a fairly small gentleman anyway, and when he gets up on Harley's back, he even looks that much smaller. So this is one of our famous ponies here. The ponies are definitely very much a necessity here at the racetrack, because they do calm these nervous thoroughbreds down. So this is what is known as the Pony Barn. So folks, we're just going to wander around Churchill Downs backside. Like I said, I haven't been back here much. I'm looking forward to seeing some folks that I haven't seen in quite some time. And this is Oaks Day, but it's any other work day for these people. They're doing the same thing that they do every day back here. I have so much respect for these folks. There is no such thing as a day off for these people. Every day you have to exercise these horses. You feed them, you bathe them, you do laundry, you clean up after them. It's pretty much done every day, regardless of weather conditions. So even though this is a special day, being the Kentucky Oaks, it is still just a normal work day for most of these people back here. So we're just going to wander around and see what's happening back here. We have 47 barns back here and stall space for about 1,400 horses. It's pretty close to full capacity right now, so pretty close to about 1,400 horses back here. That also means you're going to have about 700 people living back here as well. Those are the people that take care of the horses on a daily basis. You have a church back here. There's a restaurant back here. Dormitories where they live. We have a learning center where we teach English, computer skills, different things like that for the folks that live and work back here. So it is its own little community. Gentleman up in front of me here is the High Sheriff back here. Good morning, Bill. Good to see you, buddy.
Glad to see you back here.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, I hear you. I miss coming back here and seeing everybody. All right, good to see you.
Got the best right.
Thank you. Well, Bill, folks, is the gentleman in charge of the whole security back here, but for many years, Bill was one of the men loading those horses in the starting gate on Derby Day. He did that for about 20 derbies, so those are some brave fellas that lead those horses into the starting gate, and then they hop up in there with them. They're in there to try to make sure everybody gets a fair start. So Bill is one who's done that for many years, and now he's just in charge of security back here. So folks, you have some trainers back here that might just have a couple of horses that they train, and then you have other trainers back here that might have, 50 to 100 horses. So all different sizes of operations back here. And the trainer rents the stall space from Churchill Downs. He pays for the stall space out of the daily fee that he is charging an owner. Now, right now, since there is racing going on here, the stall space is actually free at this time. Whenever there's live racing going on, they do get to stay here for free. Across the street from us, something that's very new that I haven't gotten to look at much, folks, as you see the quarantine barns. Q1 and Q2 over there. So those are quarantine barns. Those are very new. We also have a equine medical facility that's across the street now. So that is all new. I'm very unfamiliar with it because it's just gone into operation this spring. And since I haven't been back here, I'm not sure if we have any horses in the quarantine barn right now or not. I don't think we do. But when horses ship from overseas and places like that, sometimes there is a time that they have to spend a little quarantine time before they're allowed in with the general population. And that's what this quarantine barn affords us now. And then also having the equine medical facility right across the street. That is certainly a big time improvement here these days. All right. Up over here, I see a parking spot for Scott Jordan. Folks, Scott Jordan is the starter at Churchill Downs. That means Scott is the man that actually gets it all going. He's out in front of the starting gate. He has a crew that works for him. They load him into the starting gate. When he thinks all the horses are settled, Scott presses the button because those gates are held together with magnets with an electrical charge. And when Scott presses the button, that releases the electrical charge, the gates spring open, and that gets everything started. So Scott Jordan right here has done this for quite a number of years here at Churchill Downs, has a tremendous crew that works for him. When you talk about the starters at horse racing, to me they're very much like maybe umpires in baseball. When you don't notice them, they're doing a very good job. And you very rarely notice these guys because they are doing such a good job loading those horses and getting them out of there in a timely manner. So here we have the dormitories where many of these folks that live back here, and the people that live back here, typically they're one of three people. They're the grooms, the hot walkers, and the exercise riders. They all work for a trainer. Hot walkers walk the horses after they've exercised in a cooling out period. Grooms bathe them and feed them and get them put away. And then obviously the exercise riders are who is riding them here in the morning. Morning, Linda. How are you? There's Linda Doan. Linda works back here on the back side as well. Up ahead, folks, is the church here on the chapel. We have church here on the backside. It's non-denominational, but they do services in English and in Spanish. So as I mentioned earlier, kind of its own little village, own little community back here. Linda runs a lifestyles program back here to help these folks out with anything that they might need. Because you have people living back here from about mid-March till the end of the year. January and February, the only 2 months of the year when we don't have horses and people living back here. In a normal year, they're here from mid-March till December 31st. They all have to be out at December 31st. Of course, at that time of the year, they're usually going to be heading south for the racing seasons down south in the warmer weather. So those are the only 2 months when we don't have horses and people back here. That gives Churchill Down a chance to do repair work on barns and different things that's needed during the off season. We just had a water truck going by us, folks. Something people probably are not aware of. When we have normal weather and not a lot of rain going on, they're putting about 100,000 gallons of water on that track each day. The water on the track kind of gives it a little cushion, a little bounce to us. Good morning, Michelle. That's one of our trainers, Michelle Lovell. She's getting up on her pony, Elwood. Elwood, folks, he gets his name because his color is called a blue roan. Roan is a gray horse, and he's got a bluish tint to him. Well, he has a brother that looks just like him. His name is Jake. They're the Blues Brothers, Jake and Elwood. So that's Elwood right there. And that's Michelle up on Elwood. Elwood gonna come out. I've gotten rid of all my peppermints already. I'm sorry, Michelle. Elwood not only would like a peppermint, he'd probably like a beer about now. Elwood will drink a beer on occasion. How you doing there, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah. How are you, Michelle?
Good.
Happy Oaks Day.
Happy Oaks Day.
Oh boy. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Same to you. So this Michelle's barn right here. I'm not sure how many horses Michelle has under her care right now. I'd guess probably a number maybe about 20 or so that she trains. Very good horsewoman right there for sure. And training is going on right now, folks. Typically the horses probably went on the track about 5:30 this morning, and they train from 5:30 to 10 each morning. There are 2 different times where they take a break, and that affords Churchill Downs the chance to go out there, the maintenance crew, and water the track and harrow the track. So there's typically a break at from 7 to 7:30, and then another break between 8:30 and 9 when horses aren't on the track. But otherwise, every morning they're out there on the track regardless of the weather. Over here you see semi-trailers, folks. They haul off all the waste. You get 1,400 horses back here, you're going to get a lot of that. And that's Equine Organic Company. They haul off all the waste. Several truckloads a day go out of here. And we got a horse trailer in front of us, always comings and goings, folks. That is trainer Ian Wilkes, who just rode by us there. But this is my favorite time of the morning. You see the horses out all getting their baths. And this is done every day, folks, every day. Regardless of weather conditions, they are doing this every day out here. And I mentioned we just saw Michelle Lovell. I'll tell you right there, this is Michelle's barn. And people are constantly, when I bring them back here for tours, wanting to know if these horses are taken care of. Boy, folks, they certainly are. These horses are pampered very much so. These people take a lot of pride in what they do working with these animals. I think we're going to walk around this way. It's a little busy down through that section there. But as you see up above the barns here, those are living quarters. So some people live in dorms, but others live up above the barns. They do live back here for free. It does not cost them anything to live back here. Some of them grow crops back here, different things like that, because this is where they live for the better part of the year, from mid-March till the end of the year. So you'll see them growing a lot of peppers and things like that back here, because there is, oh, look at that pretty gray over there getting his bath. That's the barn of Brett Calhoun over there. I don't know who that animal is, but he sure is pretty. This barn here, folks, belongs to Brad Cox. Brad is a local fella, grew up just a couple blocks from the racetrack. Now is one of the top trainers in the country. His big star in that barn is Montgomery Girl. She'll be running a little later. Tomorrow, I guess, is when Montgomery Girl is up. I'm not sure if it's today or tomorrow. I'm drawing a blank on that right now. But she is a superstar. Look at that pretty one over there. And they're enjoying that bath this morning. So Brad Cox, folks, has horses. I know he's probably got some horses running in New York today, horses running here. He has a big operation. He's got horses running all over the country. As I mentioned, you see the crops being grown over here for these folks. So very much a village back here. I think the majority of the people that attend the races on a daily basis, most of them have no idea what really goes on back here. I know when I bring tours back here, people are amazed at the size of the place back here and just what goes on a daily basis back here. So this is the backbone of the industry. Today on television, most of what they'll be talking about on television today are probably the owners, the wealthy owners and some of the trainers and things like that. But these folks back here, the show would not go on without them. So very much now I'm looking at a barn up here and seeing CB. That's Chad Brown. Chad has been one of the top trainers in the country over the last several years, probably the top trainer, I should say. Well, I've never been back here and seen Chad Brown's horses back here before. Chad has just recently brought a group of his horses to Kentucky. Churchill Downs' purse money, the prize money, it's gotten so good these days. A lot of the top stables are going to come to Churchill Downs because they have to chase the money. They have to go where the money is. And Churchill Downs prize money right now is about as good as anywhere in the country. Today, folks, there'll be some races for maidens. Maidens are horses who have never won a race before. Here at Churchill Downs today, the prize money in the maiden races is $97,000. You're going to see other tracks around the country today where maidens might be running for $30,000 or $40,000. Well, where are you going to take your horse? You're going to take your horses where the money is. So Chad Brown has a big operation and has many horses here at Churchill Downs right now. He has a horse running. Good morning, Jinx. Good to see you, buddy. That was Jinx Fires, one of the longest tenured trainers out here, folks. I saw Jinx up on horseback just a little while ago. 80 years old, up on horseback every morning. But Chad Brown has a first-time starter in the first race today that I'm interested in watching. A horse, I believe, named Financial One. One of the reasons I'm interested is because Financial One is a half sibling to a horse named Close Hatches, who was a champion a few years back. And if this one runs anything like its sister, ought to be a runner. And it's in the first race today. And Chad Brown does very well with his first-time starters as well. So that's a horse in the first race today that I'm very much interested in watching. But there again, Chad has one of the larger operations as well, folks. He'll have horses running up at Saratoga today, horses running here at Churchill Downs. So huge operation. Obviously, he can't be everywhere, so he has to have a lot of good help that he relies on to take care of his horses in different places. Morning, Dave. What's up?
Hey, we got a question from a viewer. They want to know where the ponies go when Churchill Downs isn't racing.
Where the ponies go? Well, like Harley, for instance, Harley's owner is Monty Getz. Monty is in charge of all the ponies. Monty has a farm here in Mount Washington, Kentucky. So most of the time, Harley will get turned out. Jimmy Baker, what's up, buddy? A stranger, I know. That's a trainer, Jimmy Baker, one of our locals, calling me a stranger since I haven't been back here. So some of those ponies I know Harley will get turned out on his farm in Mount Washington and have a little R&R. And then when he comes back in the spring, he usually has to lose a little weight because he gains a little weight over the years over the winter when he's not working. So all those ponies are owned by somebody who will usually take them out to their farm and turn them out for the year during the winter time. I know that's what Harley does, but I don't think Monty did turn him out this last winter. I don't think she told me. But so I'm sure at the end of our season here in November, he will go back to his farm in Mount Washington. So horses are out on the track right now training. So the break just ended. So they have now from 7:30 to 8:30 to train. Then there'll be another break between 8:30 and 9, and then they'll have one more hour after that from 9 to 10 to do their work. A lot of the trainers are probably trying to get their work done early this morning since it is such a big day around here. But for me, folks, just walking back here this morning, hey, what's up, Phil? Philip Bauer, another trainer, a local fella, went to St. X High School here in Louisville. We'll go by Phil's barn up here in a minute. Phil had a winter out here yesterday, I believe. But he's a local fella from St. X High School. He trains horses for a gentleman by the name of Richard Rigney. So Phil is different than most of them back here. Most of these trainers are called public trainers, meaning they could have 20 horses in there and conceivably they could be 20 different owners. Phil's is different. Phil trains horses all just owned by Mr. Rigney. So he is a private trainer. Now I hear horses coming behind me here, and these horses are trained by Bill Mott. Bill Mott won last year's Derby with a horse named Country House. He has a horse running in tomorrow's Derby by the name of South Bend. But these are Mr. Mott's horses coming by us right here. Morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Penny. How are you? Haven't been back here in a while.
I know.
Yeah. Gorgeous animals, folks. When you see Mr. Mott's horses, to me, they always look about as good as anybody's. His horses are certain. He typically deals with nothing but top-notch horse flesh in his barn. Just like in other sports, if you got say Nick Saban in football wins a lot of games, he starts getting a lot of better players to deal with. In horse racing, these trainers that win races, they're going to get better horses to train. That's just kind of the way it works. All right. That was trainer Mark Cassie who just rode by us. He has Enforceable going in tomorrow's Kentucky Derby. Enforceable will be a little bit of a long shot, but he should be one of the horses that's coming running late, trying to pick up some pieces of it at the end. Al Stahl coming by us here, another one of the top trainers. So now this is a new one to me here. This is Ignacio Correas. He's another one that hasn't been stabled here for very long. Just brought horses here this spring, I believe. Guy has a pretty good size operation back here. So you see the IC in there and the insignia on the barn. So his horses out on the racetrack in the morning have that saddle towel on them. So when you're watching horses on the track in the morning and you see the saddle towels, it gives you an idea. It tells you who the trainer of that particular horse is. So all Ignacio's horses would have that insignia on the side. Folks, it's very strange to be back here on Oaks Day and not seeing as many people as normal. Normal year on Oaks Day, you're back here and the place is really bustling. It still is now, but not as much as it would on a normal Oaks Day. But as everybody knows, nothing's normal about this year. So Ignacio Correas, and coming up ahead of us is Jinx Fires' barn. One of my favorite people back here, Mr. Fires. Mr. Fires, some of you that are listening, if you might remember, there was a jockey several years ago named Early Fires. That's Jinx's brother. Early is in the Hall of Fame as a jockey. Won a lot of races here locally at a racetrack that used to be down in the west end of Louisville called Miles Park. That's where he got his start and won a lot of races down there. And this is the Flying F stables of Mr. Jinx Fires right here. Yes, we do. Now, that's something you'll want to check our website for. You know, right now, with what's been going on, we haven't been able to come back here and do it. Not sure when that'll open up for us again, but just check. We do a couple different ones. One of my favorites to do is we do one on a golf cart. It's a 4-hour tour. On that particular one, I spend a couple hours back here when horses are out in the morning doing their training, doing kind of what we're doing right now. And then we also will spend a couple hours wandering all throughout Churchill Downs over there, taking people up to the mansion, one of the most exclusive parts of Churchill Downs. So that is probably one of my favorite tours to do. We also do another one called a Barn and Backside Tour. It's a shorter version of that. But we come back here, drive people back here, get out to the rail of the track and watch all those horses as they're working in the morning. And to me, that is the best time of the day, to be out here watching the horses and watching these horsemen do what they do. So, morning, Vern. How are you? Oh, and this is Isabel over here. This young lady, folks, works for Mark Cassie. Isabel is a student at the University of Louisville's Equine School and then works for Mark Cassie over here as well. I know Isabel has some aspirations of being what's called a bloodstock agent. I guess to try to describe what a bloodstock agent, in any other sport, it might be a scout, where she kind of advises people on who she thinks. She'll go to auctions and try to advise people on who she thinks is a good buy and things like that. So very much like a scout in any other sport. So she goes to the University of Louisville's Equine School and then also works here. There's a gentleman I haven't seen all year. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing very well.
Enjoy your day today.
We will, thank you. You all have anything in today?
No.
Nothing today? Trainer Dallas Stewart just went by us, folks. He has a long shot in the Derby named Winning Impression. But anybody knows anything about Dallas, he's had some long shots light up the board in previous derbies. So I'm sure some people will be betting on that horse just because of that reason. Dallas has had some success with long shots in the past. Morning, Isabel. Good. All right, we come around the corner, folks, and we can look across and see the famous Twin Spires. Always gives me goosebumps a little bit looking across and seeing that. Hey, that was Sandy Montgomery went by us there, folks. Sandy works for the Sally horse vans. Those are the people that haul the horses back and forth. You know, these horses are always on the move, so very important job back here for him. There's one trained by Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill, two-time Derby winner. Doug won with Nyquist and with I'll Have Another. Folks, the horse I'll Have Another won the Derby in 2012. Well, his owners said every time his wife would pass around cookies, he'd say, "I'll have another." That's where the horse's name came from. The next year he owned a horse, and his name was He's Had Enough. Well, He's Had Enough had one of his offspring run out here just I think 2 days ago, named She Wants More. So that's where people always want to know where the names come from. They can come from about anywhere. But looking across at those spires, folks, and you can see it's getting light now. It's hard to tell, but those spires were lit up pink overnight. Good morning, David. How's the big horse doing?
Ready to rock and roll.
I hope so. I hope so.
We'll need some help. Probably maybe handicapping right now may not be as much pace as we want.
Yeah, King Guillermo took a little of that pace out of there, didn't it?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So
For the connections, our collector would have been a pace factor too. Yeah, we just need a little bit of help in the front end.
yeah, need somebody pushing authentic out there on that front end.
Yeah, but he's doing as well as he can do. So
Yes.
that's all we can ask for.
I hear you. Well, good luck to you.
Gary, we appreciate it as always.
Good to see you, buddy. That is David Carroll. David runs Mark Cassie's Kentucky division. David had a horse in the Derby several years ago who ran third, named Dennis of Cork. Ran third in 2008. David's one of my favorites back here, Irishman. Over on our left, folks, you see the barn of D. Wayne Lucas. Just one of the, he's a stalwart back here. If you ever go to the Kentucky Derby Museum, get up onto the second floor of the museum. There is a whole wing dedicated to Mr. Lucas. Have all his trophies and things. Not all his trophies. We don't have room for all of them, but we have many of his trophies up there. Now, Mr. Lucas is a fellow who has a lot of trainers that came up under his tutelage that are in the business right now. One of the top ones is Todd Fletcher. Todd Fletcher has a horse who's running the Kentucky Derby named Money Moves. Todd, due to all the restrictions going on now, I don't believe is going to attend the Derby tomorrow. So his horse is here being cared for by Mr. Lucas. So it's kind of come full circle for them. So Mr. Lucas is taking care of Todd's horses in the Derby. And folks, then you see over there that truck beside Mr. Lucas's barn is a veterinarian. In the mornings back here, veterinarians are independent contractors working for different trainers. So you might have as many as a dozen veterinarians back here in the morning, maybe a dozen farriers, blacksmiths as well. And there's a couple of our starters. Caleb. Morning, buddy. Good to see you. Caleb is on the gate crew, folks. He'll be one of those ones loading them in the starting gate this afternoon for all of our races. The D. Wayne Lucas Barn 44. Been stabled back here forever. A great man. Mr. Lucas has just come back from battling the COVID a little bit, and he turned 85 years old just a couple of days ago. And I promise you, he's up on horseback today at 85 years of age. Not much keeps him from coming to the racetrack. Well, as I look across, I see a little tent set up over there. It's a small tent. Normally, that area is full of tents that become premium seating on Derby Day. Obviously, that's not the case this year. And folks, you'll see over here too a couple big columns. Those are basically elevator shafts for the new hotel that's going to go up here at Churchill Downs. If I'm not mistaken, they're not going to begin construction on it again until after the 2021 Derby. They're going to delay it, but eventually that's going to be a hotel over there that will overlook the racetrack. Something else that folks probably don't know about that they maybe should. Up on the top level of Churchill Downs over there, we now have a steakhouse, folks. It's going to be a year-round steakhouse called the Mott Steakhouse. Overlooks Churchill Downs. Good friend of mine went up there the other night, said it was excellent, really enjoyed his meal up there. So after Derby's over, it's something people might want to look in. If you're looking for a place to go have a good steak or good meal overlooking famous Churchill Downs racetrack, look up the Mott Steakhouse. I see up there on this stand is a trainer by the name of Chris Hartman. Chris has a horse running in the Derby tomorrow by the name of Necker Island. So these are viewing stands. Earlier when I was talking about our tours back here, that's what we do. We drive back here and we park and we get out and get up on the viewing stands and watch all the horses while they're working out in the morning. Great way to spend a morning, folks. So up ahead of us we have the recreation building for the folks that live and work back here. Pool tables, ping pong, different things like that for them back here. because this is where they live. On Fire Baby. On Fire Baby, I believe she had an offspring that ran out here yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure how it did, I don't remember, but I think it was a horse trained by Ian Wilkes that was an offspring of On Fire Baby, who was a tremendous racehorse in her own right. That's a trainer up there on the stand by himself over there, Eddie Keneally, one of the top trainers here locally. And folks, when horses are out there in the mornings, you never know what they're trying to accomplish. They all have different agendas in the morning. You have some horses that could be racing in the next day or two. You could have some young 2-year-olds that might not race till next spring, who knows, depending on how they're developing. So they all have different agendas when they're out there in the morning. The trainers give those riders their instructions each morning of what they want that horse to accomplish when they're out there on the racetrack. But looking across at empty stands is going to be a strange sight today. Good morning, Eddie. Good and well. I'm sure a lot of folks watching, probably if they're locals, they're used to Derby week coming back here in the mornings and just being people everywhere. Everybody in the city figures out a way to get back here on Derby week to come out here and watch the Derby horses train. Obviously, not the case this year. Everything's a little strange this year. But this is where I like to spend my mornings, just right up here railside, watching everything that goes on out there. And the track you're looking at, folks, pretty much been the same surface for about 146 years now. It's a mixture of sand, silt, and clay. It's 75% sand, 23% silt, and 2% clay. So the Derby is always run on that track regardless of the weather. But inside of it, we have a grass surface. We will have races run on the grass today. We had some rain over the last couple of nights, so we didn't run on the grass yesterday, but we will be running on the grass today. And if you look across, folks, there's a booth up at the very top sitting up by itself. That is the track photographer, and he is directly in line with the finish line below him. Once around from there, finish line to finish line, 1 lap is a mile. Well, the Derby's 1.25 miles, so that means they start 1/4 mile back over in that right-hand corner, 1/4 mile in front of the finish line, and they'll go past the finish line, and then 1 more lap around completes 1.25 mile race. Now, some races are going to be run here. I know tomorrow we have the Pat Day Mile, a big race out here tomorrow. Well, a mile race, you could start at the finish line, and once around would be 1 mile. But if you started right at that finish line, as soon as you start, you're running into a turn. And that wouldn't be a fair start, especially for horses in the outside post position. So if you look down to the left here, this is called the Chute, way back in here. There's a red and white pole all the way right in that back corner. That is the 1 mile marker. So they'll take the starting gate down to that position and park the starting gate there for a 1 mile race. So they start down there, but every race finishes across the way at the finish line, across directly in line with that top booth. So that is the Chute. A lot of times in the morning, they'll take some of the younger horses down in there, kind of get them away from the traffic of the other horses, even though the track is fairly empty at the moment right now. And I'm also looking down to the left, folks, and I see our brand new starting gate. It's pulled off to the side down there. Churchill Downs, normally to run the Kentucky Derby, to have a 20-horse field, we would need 2 gates, because our normal gate holds 14. They would bring an auxiliary gate that holds 6 and butt it up against it to allow 20 horses to compete at the same time. But Churchill Downs has just recently purchased a gate that holds all 20, and that is it down there on the left. They did run a race the other day and used that particular gate just to kind of get these guys used to it. So we just have 1 gate this year instead of having 2 gates for the Kentucky Derby. And I'm looking out at an infield that looks like it does on a normal day. Typically, Derby Day, folks, you have a lot of tents and things out there with different vendors for the infield crowd, with no fans in attendance today. That's not necessary this year. And you also see we have lights. Churchill Downs does run races at nighttime, but only about 4 times a year typically. Nighttime racing, much of it is kind of an attempt to get a younger crowd to come to Churchill Downs. So on nighttime racing, we'll have live music over there in the paddock area, live music, happy hour drink prices, things like that, trying to attract a younger crowd. And it certainly does work. If you ever get an opportunity, come out here for some night racing. The place kind of takes on a different aura at nighttime. You know, as an old person, when they make changes out here, a lot of times I'm not for them. I wasn't real thrilled with those lights going up there, but now that they're there, I think it's pretty cool. Come out here for some night racing and enjoy the atmosphere. And that's typically about 4 times a year that is done. So all the poles out there on the racetrack tell us something, folks. Red and white ones, like right here in front of us, the red and white poles mark quarters of a mile. That particular pole, it's 3/4 of a mile from there to the finish line across the way. To my right, there's a smaller black and white pole with a gold ball on top. They mark 1/16 of a mile. And then on farther down to the right, there's a big green and white pole. That marks 1/8 of a mile. So you can take the starting gate to different points depending on how long or short each race is. I always try to explain to people, think of it as a track meet. Some of these horses are sprinters. Some are long distance runners, middle distance runners. Some prefer running on grass, some running on dirt. So we have all sorts of different races at different lengths and on different surfaces, depending on what that horse does best. All right, we'll make our way down this way here a little bit. It looks to me like a lot of people got their, okay, they're giving corrections for today's races. That's telling us what horses might be scratched that aren't running today that were listed in the program, things like that. So, but it looks like a lot of people got their training out of the way early today, with it being Oaks Day. And get the barns cleaned up and get ready for some great racing this afternoon. And there will be some great racing this afternoon. A lot of people are very excited to see the filly who's running today in the Oaks, a filly by the name of Gamine, who's trained by Bob Baffert. Was told several months ago before she ever raced that she was the female Justify. And up to this point, she has certainly backed up that reputation. She looks very much, many people think she could have run in the Derby today and done well, but she is going to run against her own gender today in the Kentucky Oaks. Up ahead of me, folks, you see the big video board, the big board. That big board is the size of 3 NBA basketball courts. It's over 15,000 square feet. It is high definition. So on a normal day of racing, I don't really care where you're sitting. Most of us watch the race up there on that big board. I think Churchill Downs bills it as the largest high def board. Homie! Good to see you, man. Doing all right. Glad to be back here. Everything's good. Everybody's healthy. Thank you. Same to you. Now that is trainer Tim Glashaw's barn right there. And there's Tim over there leaning up against his van. Folks, this contraption up here ahead of us, that's where they fill up the water trucks. All that water that's put on the track every day, most of it comes from an underground spring. Years ago when they built the underground tunnel. Is that Declan? Good morning, buddy. Good to see you. Same to you. Now that is Declan Carroll. We just talked to his daddy, David Carroll, here just a minute ago. So a lot of times in the morning, you'll see David Carroll up on one of the horses he trains riding. His wife is an exercise rider for that barn, and then their son Declan is a jockey. So a lot of times you'll see mother, father, and son out there on the racetrack at the same time, riding horses in the morning. To my right, you see Detention Barn. Detention Barn, folks, is where horses are taken after the race for drug testing. The winner of each race goes in there and they'll take a urine sample and a blood sample. They'll randomly select some others. And it is also the barn where our outriders keep their horses. You see these parking assignments here for Outrider 1, 2, and 3. Outriders are the lifeguards out on the racetrack. Never want to see it happen, but occasionally you're going to see a horse dump a rider. It's going to be a loose horse out on the racetrack. Well, a loose horse is a danger to himself and everybody else. And that's when these guys jump into the fray and try to grab the loose horse before anybody gets hurt. And all three of our riders here are Oklahoma Cowboys, folks. They are tremendous at what they do. They are the best in the business. Like I said, I never want to see a horse get loose in the morning, but when it happens, those guys are fun to watch because they are mighty good at what they do. Good morning. Here's the Backside Learning Center. This place provides a lot of resources for the folks that live and work back here. That's where they'll teach English classes, computer skills, different things like that. So it really provides a lot of resources for those folks that live and work back here. Good morning. And of course, there's betting windows back here too, folks. Never a shortage of betting windows anywhere around here. I'm anxious to see what the total handle will be on Derby Day. The handle is how much money is bet. With going up, normally in the first Saturday in September here, we'd probably be going up against college football and things like that. Well, we're not. So you got a lot of those people that like to gamble a little bit. So their money might be going towards horse racing this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of handle we have over here over the next couple of days. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Now, this man can tell a tale if nothing. How are you?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Happy Oaks Day to you.
You too. But isn't this the strange?
It is very much a strange one. No question about it. No question.
At least we're here.
That's exactly right. I'm glad to be back here. I know that.
Yeah.
My first time back here all year.
Oh,
Yeah.
be safe.
Thank you very much. Up ahead, you see F on the barn, folks. That's Greg Foley. Greg is a local trainer. Greg's daddy was a trainer before him. His sister Vicky is a trainer back here as well. And then Greg has Major Fed, who will be running. I believe that is Greg's first Derby entrant ever. So I can tell you there's a little restaurant across the street called Wagner's Pharmacy, and I can promise you those folks over there are certainly pulling for Greg Foley to do well tomorrow. And Jimmy Baker's barn up ahead of us. Yeah, so Greg has been back here for many years, folks. He's grown up in the business. And that's what you find with a lot of these trainers. These are people that have grown up in this business. For the amount of horses and people that are back here, they do an excellent job of keeping this place clean back here. And I just can't emphasize enough, folks, they do this every day, regardless of weather conditions. It would be pouring down rain right now. These folks would not be doing anything different. They'd be doing exactly what they're doing out there right now. So I see tractors out on the racetrack, so there is a break right now. I guess it's I'm not sure what time we're talking about here. Yeah, 8:20, so the break's at a little bit different time this morning than normal. It looks like they took the break at 8 o'clock versus 8:30 today, just because it is Oaks Day. Look at those pretty animals getting their bath. I love coming back here in the mornings, folks, when there's a little chill in the air and you see the steam rising off of those horses. It's a beautiful sight to behold.
How many barns are back here, Barry?
There are 47 and 1,400 stalls. And like I said, I'm not sure, not been back here much this year, but at this time of the year, we're typically going to be pretty close to full capacity at 1,400. And the way it works, folks, if you own a horse, you hire the trainer. Well, the trainer is going to charge you a daily rate to take care of that horse. Good morning. They're going to charge you a daily rate to take care of that horse. It varies from trainer to trainer. Average back here would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe about $100 a day. Well, out of that 100, the trainer rents the stall space, feeds the horse, hires his help. $100 probably won't go very far, so you better win races, and that you're sharing the prize money with the owner, and then that trickles down to everybody from there. Folks, this truck I'm seeing beside me tells me the gentleman that drives this truck is named Mike Crowder. Mike is an exercise rider out there on the racetrack, probably our oldest one that does it. I believe Mike's 70 years old, and he's an exercise rider. And not just that, Mike only takes the problem children. So he gets on the toughest horses they have to handle. When Mike's on the back of a horse, it's typically a horse that maybe is a little bit of a bad actor, but give Mike a little time with him, and he'll get that horse straightened out and get him going the right way. Kenny McPeak's barn beside us. Kenny, big day for them. He's got a top filly named Swiss Skydiver going to be running in the Oaks this afternoon. I don't know, here's Kenny out ahead of us up here to the right. So he has Swiss Skydiver. They had some aspirations of possibly running the filly in the Derby against the boys, which doesn't happen often. We've only had 3 fillies to win in 145 years. 146 now, because no fillies this year. But a big day for this barn. And Kenny had a nice winner up at Saratoga yesterday. He had a 2-year-old win up at Saratoga yesterday, 2 for 2 now. Nice win up there yesterday. Let's hope so. And now she's got to win on grass and dirt, right? Yeah. 2 for 2, 1 on both surfaces. So that's a nice filly to keep an eye out there that Kenny has. So hope springs eternal in this business, folks. Every year, if you got a good 2-year-old in your barn, you're hoping that horse is good enough to get you to next year's Kentucky Derby or next year's Kentucky Oaks. So there's always hope every time a new horse comes into the barn. Now up ahead of us is one of our locals, Dale Romans. You'll see the names of some of Dale's top horses listed on the barn. Dale has a horse named Attachment Rate, who will be running tomorrow's Kentucky Derby. And he will be a bit of a long shot, but he's another one of those ones that comes running late. And as you heard David Carroll talk about, they're hoping for some pace in the race. What that means is if you're a come from behind horse, you'd like to see a few horses go out there and battle on that lead, and they battle and battle, and then they tire out, and that sets it up from the come from behinders. Some of those come from behinders are worried that there's not enough pace in the race, that the front runners might get out there and be able to relax on that lead and carry their speed farther. So that is a concern. I know a lot of people think Authentic, trained by Bob Baffert, might get out to the lead and not have anybody pressing him, and might be able to carry his speed the 1.25 miles. So I think there's some people thinking that he could take them gate to wire. Of course, he is going to be on the far outside, so he's really going to have to hustle to get to the lead and clear and get over to the rail. So that is a concern for him. But so in horse racing, folks, they always say pace makes the race. And what that means is how fast are they going early. If they're going very fast in the first part of the race, that sets it up for the come from behinders. If they're able to get out there on front and relax and slow it down a little bit, that makes it tougher for the come from behinders to make up the ground down the stretch. All right, Mike Tomlinson's barn here on my left. Here's a blacksmith over here. Like I said, there's several blacksmiths around here in the mornings, independent contractors working for different operations. They're lightweight aluminum shoes they use. Typically, they're going to change shoes on these horses about every 30 days or so. And then, of course, sometimes weather conditions could have something to do with what kind of shoes they might use, different things like that. Just like in football, if it's sloppy going out there, the player might use something with a different cleat on it. Same thing with the horses. They might use something different over here. And you see some chickens rolling around over here. A lot of the barns like to have some company for their horses. Horses are social animals. They like to have some company. Some of the barns will have goats. Some have chickens. Just different things like that to help keep the horses occupied a little bit. I know there's certain, I know Helen Pitts, one of the trainers, been back here for many years. I know Helen used to have a goat that would travel with one of her horses everywhere it went because that was its companion. So anything to make the horses feel comfortable. Well, we've pretty much made a circle, folks. We're getting back towards the track kitchen where we started this. This track kitchen is open for breakfast and lunch for the folks that live and work back here. If you happen to like Mexican food, it's about as good as it gets in here. So there's all the chickens out and about.
Jerry, one last question
Sure.
for you. Do you have a pick for the Oaks today?
I just think it's going to be very hard to beat Gamine. That's my opinion. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know there. She's going to be a heavy favorite for sure. But there are a couple other very nice fillies in there. Swiss Skydiver, Speech, she's coming from the West Coast, and Donna Veloce. So it's a very talented group of fillies, but I just think that Gamine, like I said, I was told several months ago that she was the female Justify, and to this point she's looked like it, so I'm going to be very surprised if they beat her. But there's not any money to be made there. What I would tell people, if you want to maximize betting on her, I would use her in the multi-race ragers, like pick 3s and pick 4, and maybe use her in the anchor leg. And then hopefully in those races preceding that, you can maybe get a horse that pays a decent price, and then you can get a pretty good return on your pick 3 or pick 4. So that's probably the way I'm going to try to approach that race. So I think she's going to be very difficult to beat. Of course, we just saw Kenny McPeak down there, and he has Swiss Skydiver. I'm sure Kenny thinks he's got a big shot too, and most people do. A lot of them think it's basically a 2-horse race pretty much between Swiss Skydiver and her. But I think Speech will have a little bit to say there. But yeah, not telling anybody anything they don't already know. But to me, Gamine certainly looks like it's going to be very difficult to beat. And then I wouldn't be surprised that later on in the year, if she stays undefeated, we might see her take on the boys and in some of the races later on in the fall. Good morning, Mike. Vicky. Hey, good. That's Mike Tomlinson and his wife, Vicky. Vicky is head of Horsemen's Relations over on the other side, on the front side of Churchill Downs. Very nice folks. So, yes, that is my pick for the Oaks, would be Gamine, but that's not giving anybody any inside information. That's just everything she's shown us so far. She looks like she is a superstar, and we will see later this afternoon. That is the 12th race of the day, I believe, today. Tomorrow, we have something unusual. The Derby is going to be run as the last race of the day tomorrow. In prior years, the Derby has always been the 12th of the 14 races. They do that in the hopes that not everybody exits at the same time, hoping some people will leave right after the Derby and others will hang around for the next couple of races. Well, this year with no fans in attendance, there's no reason to do that. So the Derby is going to be the last race on the card tomorrow. And I believe it's going to be run a little earlier than the last race normally is run. I think post time tomorrow for the Derby is at 7:01. Normally a last race on Derby Day is usually run somewhere around 8:15 or 8:20. So we're going to be run a little earlier tomorrow. All right, folks, we're back by the track kitchen and the receiving barn. Receiving barn is kind of like maybe a hotel or a motel. Some horses will ship in to run in races here, and they don't have normal stalls allotted to them. So the receiving barn would be where they would stay, and then they'd get back on their trailer and go back to where they come from. So receiving barn kind of serves as a motel almost for them. Well, folks, I think this is going to conclude our trip. Have a good Oaks Day. I hope you get back with us again tomorrow morning. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow morning. My hope is tomorrow morning we'll go by some of the barns where some of the Derby horses are and try to get a look at them. So we will be doing this again tomorrow morning at about 7:30. Other than that, thanks for joining us. And if you have any more questions that you think of later, tweet us tomorrow, and I'll try to answer any of those questions that you might have tomorrow. Otherwise, enjoy Oaks Day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, thanks, everybody.